Okay, Amy, so we've talked about all sorts of things, and we've now taken our samples. What's next? How do we store them and transport them safely to get to you?
So think of them, it's living soil. There are microbes in that bag. So I need to see them as soon as possible so that I can count them before conditions change in that bag. And that bag, the conditions in the bag really need to mimic the conditions in the soil for as long as possible. So that would look like we want the same temperature in the bag, we want the same moisture conditions in the bag, that kind of thing.
Okay. No, that sounds good. So what exactly does it look like to be able to send these to you?
Yeah, so we mentioned that the organisms are aerobic. And I think that the number one mistake that people make is they get really excited about bringing the sample in. And I often see a full bag that's zipped tightly shut at the top. So that's a really great way to shift conditions in the bag from aerobic to anaerobic conditions. And so I would encourage people to really think about that, not going past the third mark, but leaving the Ziploc bag open. There's that little zippy thing. It's so tempting.
It really is.
To zip it or squish it. It feels good. Leave it open, please, so that those microbes can breathe. Really important stage. And then if you need to collect your sample and then do something before you bring it to me, I think, an ideal situation, you would collect it and then bring it straight away.
Right.
But if that's not the case, then you have to think about where you sit that little sample bag while you're, doing whatever else it is that you're doing.
Like if rain or something.
Like if rain is coming. So if rain came into the bag, then that would cause it to go anaerobic pretty quickly, and the change in moisture would change the community dynamics. Same as if you were to leave it in the sun, it would dry out, the temperature would increase, and the moisture would change. So if you do need to leave it somewhere, pick somewhere that's shady and about the same temperature as the soil, and leave the bag open and pop it there temporarily.
And it's probably best to just really try to get it to you as soon as possible.
Really,
or to whoever's doing the assessment.
That's right, yeah. We really want to get it quickly because we want it to be representative of what's happening in the soil, and they are living organisms. So if you can't drop it off to a lab and you're looking at mailing it in, then I would pick the fastest possible mail solution and find a way where you can if you're going in the mail, you don't really want an open Ziploc bag, right? You want to put the sample in a box where there's lots of air above the sample, and you can close the Ziploc bag, but I would punch some holes in it, just much like I imagine when you're sending worms to people, Andrea, that you're making sure the worms can breathe.
That's right.
Same for the microbes. I would pop some holes in there and make sure there's air transfer in the mailing box. Yeah, so choose Express Post.
Perfect. Yep. And so when can people expect to receive the results? And what does that, in what kind of form is that going to show up?
Yeah, I usually get results to people within a day or two, give or take, a weekend here and there. And you receive a report, and the report will clearly outline the beneficial organisms and the detrimental organisms. And in biology, there is no such thing as beneficial or detrimental. I'm talking about from the perspective of the plant.
Right.
So, if you've got plant beneficial microbes, they'll all be listed and numbered, and then there'll also be a range that we would expect for the plant that you want to grow, so you can compare what our expectations are for that plant to thrive versus what's actually in your soil, and that will help you make some management decisions. But I can imagine, there's not a lot of people that are interpreting soil biology.
No, I was just going to ask you that
these days. So
what do people do here? Can you give any advice? Because for a lot of people, it's going to be totally new.
Totally new.
You're going to get these numbers. You might see some ranges and stuff, but
what does it really mean?
And then how should you proceed?
Yeah, so that's why I offer everybody an in-depth telephone call or email conversation, depending on what's easiest for folks, so that I can answer all those questions and make sure that you leave this process with something that's meaningful for you, with something that you can actually work with and make a change or not based on what the results are. But the idea is that it should be a worthwhile process.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds great. And yeah, we use Amy to monitor all of our soil and compost on the farm here.
I'm so happy to do so.
And we couldn't be happier to have you.
Oh, thank
Keeping
you.
everything in line over here. And
Thank you, Andrea.
yeah, thank you, Amy.